This is 90.3 The Rock. My name is Benny Smith, and you just heard music right there from Chris Pickering. The CD is called Excuses, and it is fine stuff. We're all in here bopping our head to that. You're going to be hearing that song quite a bit more here on 90.3 The Rock in the not-so-distant future, like as in now and tomorrow and the day after and the day after. It's a fine CD again. It's called Excuses from Australia's own Chris Pickering, and we happen to have Chris in studio right now. And Chris, how are you doing, man?
I'm good.
Very good to see you. Very good to meet you.
Thank you for having me here.
Well, we are very glad to have you, and thank you so much for the CD. Congratulations on it. Excuses is the name. Not quite. It's somewhat available here domestically. We'll touch on that in just a minute. Mm-hmm. But again, you are in town tonight playing Preservation Pub. Have you played the pub before? Is it your first Knoxville gig?
This is the first time I've actually ever been to Knoxville.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, man. Welcome to Knoxville via Australia, via Nashville.
That's right, yes.
Right?
Mm.
Very, very cool, man. We're very proud to have you. Very glad you're going to be playing the Preservation Pub this evening. It's a great venue, a lot of fun. They love good music down there. They love a good cold beverage to go with that good music, which usually does go together quite well. So
it usually does, yes.
But again, congratulations on this new record. It's really, really fine. You're going to have copies tonight, of course, that folks can get from you at the show. We'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a lot about your music and about how you got to here from Australia and kind of what you grew up listening to that kind of shapes you into the musician that you are now. And if you go on the World Wide Web, you will find comparisons to everybody from Keith Partridge to Johnny Cash to Bright Eyes to Ryan Adams. But let's just let folks make their own mind up. We're going to have you play some songs here live. Of course, you are watching UTTV, The Rock Unplugged. And you can check that out Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday nights at 9 on UTTV, channel 194 on Comcast Digital and Knoxville, channel 65 on campus. And you are tuned to WUTK 90.3 FM, Knoxville, Tennessee, live. Get that legal stuff out of the way. Chris Pickering, live in studio. Why don't you go ahead and start us off with the song, man, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more.
Okay, sounds good.
What you going to do?
I'm going to play a song. It's the second track on my record called Broken Wing.
Very cool. Chris Pickering, live in studio on UTTV, The Rock Unplugged.
This has been the worst few months I've had, but it seems as though they won't turn out so bad. What does this all mean? I hear you ask when you can't touch or hold something that's within your grasp. I would say too much and give it away, and I have this broken wing. It won't let me do anything. San Francisco is so very far away, but I tell myself I could make it in a day. Yes, and I feel lonely too, and I'd spend every last cent I had to get there to you. You could choose me as your next move. You could fix this broken wing. I bet you could fix anything. Draw a circle on the ground, jump inside with me, we'll be safe and sound. We Have a place where all is still and nothing can get inside to us. Nothing ever will. So I'll take flight. I think everything will be alright. You have fixed this broken wing. You have fixed up everything.
Very cool stuff, man. Chris Pickering, live in studio, originally from Brisbane, Australia. Is that right?
Yep, that's exactly right.
So tell us, and again, more comparisons. Death Cab for Cutie is another one some folks have thrown out there. Josh Rouse, fellow Australian Paul Kelly. Seen some. That's a great comparison there. Cool stuff.
Yeah, that's a very, very flattering comparison.
Yeah, especially coming from Australia. But I mean, I've known Paul Kelly's music for many years, and I'm like, wow, that does make a lot of sense there, especially in a lot of ways. So what did you grow up listening to? Who did you grow up listening to in Brisbane? Did the radio, trading off tapes, CDs? What you grew up listening to, and what really influenced you to be the musician you are today?
Well, we didn't really have too much radio down in where I come from is a place called Warwick, which is kind of just outside Brisbane. It's about 2 hours away from Brisbane. It's a smaller town, and I grew up there and went to school and everything there, and we didn't have much radio there. There was kind of the national radio broadcaster, and that was pretty much it, and a few commercial channels. But I never listened much to the radio. I kind of started out with my parents' record collection, which we converted onto cassette tape, and I used to listen to we only had one because we didn't have a record player, so we had to get someone else to tape it onto cassette, and then I'd play it through the little one-speaker tape deck thing that we had, and that was the only thing we had. But it did the trick. I mean,
apparently,
I discovered a lot of stuff, and I started out listening to the Beatles, and moved on to other stuff that was in their collection, like 10cc. My parents were big fans of, and Rolling Stones, and all kinds of different bands after that. So,
it's pretty amazing. 10cc was really huge back in the 70s, especially early 70s.
Deservedly so. I'm a huge fan of 10cc. I think they write some of the best songs that I would count them as one of my major influences,
cool.
But for years they've been regarded as a very, very daggy kind of commercial band. But if you listen to their songs, that they have really clever and often like completely hilarious lyrics, and they're just really, really clever musically as well, and very catchy too. Well,
there's got to be some hilarity and funniness in there if you know the story behind their name of their band.
Yeah, exactly right.
So, but man, what a great, talented band. And I'm Not in Love, of course, a lot of folks know from the big radio hit in the States in the 70s. But that's cool. I don't get a lot of folks mentioning 10cc when they're sitting in this chair in there. But, of course, a lot of Beatles, a lot of Stones. And, it's really cool because a lot of the artists that do come through started listening to their parents' record collection, and that's how it kind of got started. So,
that's ideally how it would start. I mean, if I ever have kids, I'd like to think that they'd start by listening to my record collection. So.
You're doing your job right, I guess, if that happens.
Yeah.
So, very, very cool. As you grew up, did you spend? When you got a little bit older, and what made you decide, I want to pick up a guitar, I want to learn to play, I want to learn to write? I mean, because you're a multi-instrumentalist, you play drums, you play all kinds of musical instruments. What got you started, and when did you get started doing all of that?
Very early, actually. I think, the Beatles kind of set it off for me. It just really appealed to me, and there was a documentary on the Beatles that we had on video, and it was kind of I used to watch that all the time, and I guess it just started from there. I like when I was 6, I started learning guitar, and I think since then I've kind of always wanted to be a musician. There's never been anything else I've really wanted to be. I mean, you think about being other things like a policeman and a fireman and an astronaut, but
Sure.
But the music's always been the main thing with me all the time. I've never really wanted to be anything else. So.
That's very cool. Again, we've got Chris Pickering live in studio here at 90.3 The Rock. Going to be playing tonight down at Preservation Pub. About 10 o'clock, got a great new record out. It's called Excuses. Basically a full band record. He's going to be solo tonight. Somebody you really remind me a lot of, especially solo here, is Peter Case, who is one of my favorite singers-songwriters, and was in the Plimsolls years ago, and has been enjoying a huge solo career for years. And had him in there about a year or so ago and played live in studio, and just right off the bat, I'm like, man, it sounds like a lot like Peter Case. And so another great singer-songwriter yet to add to your list.
That's a very flattering comparison.
Well,
too.
there's many of them, like I said, in your media kits and all over the website when it comes to describing Chris Pickering and what your music is all about. You grew up, like I said, in Australia. When did you make the jump across the pond? You call Nashville home now, right?
Yeah, well, it's only recently. I made a few trips back and forth last year. But then I only really became a permanent resident as such of Nashville at the start of this year. So I've been there 6 months now, and it's been treating me well. I like it.
Yeah, it's a little different down there. I mean, it's there's a lot more going on than just the country music industry.
Oh, definitely. Well, I wouldn't classify myself as a country artist at all. So it's for me, it's really good, and the I guess you call it the indie rock scene down there is very healthy, and there's a lot of good indie rock bands in Nashville.
Yeah, there are a whole lot, and they've got a scene there now, especially as well. I know, and East Nashville. I mean, there's a real indie Americana scene down there as well. That's just
I live in East Nashville, which is great. It's really convenient. I can just go for a walk and catch some great bands just about any night of the week.
Yeah, that's kind of ground zero for indie Nashville.
Yeah,
I guess,
it's good. There. It's a really good part of town, and it's good people, and I mean, there's such good music coming out of there, so it's a lot of fun to live there.
Yeah, absolutely. With all due respect, nobody thinks you're trying to be the next Keith Urban or anything.
No,
do they?
Absolutely not.
Good. But you're just as talented, man, and hopefully your future will hold as many gold and platinum records and whatnot.
That would be nice.
Chris Pickering live in studio here at 90.3 The Rock, again playing Preservation Pub this evening. His new album is called Excuses. We're going to come back and talk to him a little bit about that as well. But right now, we're going to get you to do what you do best, and that's play some music that you wrote. And what you're going to do next?
Well, I'll do a song called One Glass next, which is also off my record.
All right.
It's a bit more of a country bluegrass kind of feel to it.
Very cool. Yeah, we're going to come back and talk a little bit about that song when you get done with that. Chris Pickering live on The Rock.
My fist is as hard as a mountain of stone, but it can be weathered down. It may break my back over hundreds of years, but then it'll come around. My head is as full as a lake after rain, too much for me to drink. But if taken just one glass at a time, I'll soon be able to think. Oh Lord, help me to stand on feet that are strong enough to hold me, hold me. While I would say what I really feel, my tongue may not oblige. But I've turned a page and now can engage. My heart is open wide.